Hi everyone, welcome back to the Traders Galaxy YouTube channel, and today I thought we would look at Max Starr's Special Branch for Bot War. Max Starr's Special Branch is one of my favourite forces in Bot War. I like the idea that they're just exceptional humans doing all they can to battle like the bots, the overwhelming forces of the bots and the other forces in the Bot War. And they're pretty much doing it just with a little bit of bot technology, but they're ultimately very distrustful of bots. So they've never really they use the bot technology a little bit to modify their vehicles into battle vehicles, but yeah, they're pretty against any sort of bots or any other non-human forces. So this is the main starter box here for Max Starr's Special Branch. It comes with most of the vehicles. I think you get the rest are available in this foil pack here. There's 3 others in this foil pack. So I think there's, I want to say 17 vehicles, but I've probably made a mistake there. So these videos aren't rehearsed at all. So yeah, this is the set for Max Starr. Now Max Starr for the longest time really has probably been the most powerful force. Well, the democracy in general has been the most powerful force, tier 1 for Bot War, although recently with the introduction of the faction guides, we have actually split the democracy into Special Branch and the democracy, Eagles Veterans. So the Eagles Veterans deal with the regular military forces, whereas Special Branch is just purely Special Branch. So we're just going to take a look today at Special Branch, and I'll talk through, a little bit about. Sorry, I'm just putting that box over there. A little bit about my thoughts on the Special Branch forces. Okay, so this is the Max Starr's Special Branch forces. There's not actually a lot to them on the battlefield really. They're quite low, which means they can get behind terrain pretty well, and they are quite tiny because they are humans, and humans in Bot War are about a sort of 8 to 9 millimeters, probably closer to 8 millimeters tall. So even though I sort of call Bot War a 10 millimeter game, the humans are really a bit smaller than 10 millimeters. So this is the force. Now you get a mix of sort of flyers here. What have we got? 5 flyers. So we've got this here is the Freedom Eagle 2 for Max Starr, and then we've got Nighthawk here with Brad Hasselhoff. All of the Special Branch characters are real spoofs of like 80s TV shows. So we've got Max Starr's Freedom Eagle 1 here. This is Sloane Paulson in Airblade. And this is Flynn Turner on, if you can see that. Flynn Turner, I can't get that to focus properly. Flynn Turner on Sky Cycle. What have we got? Tom Faceman and another character in Armadillo. Someone will put in the comments below what both their names are. This is Bronco, but I'm just trying to remember. Oh, terrible. Anyway, I know the stories, I just can't remember the names. Like, I don't know, lately names have just like been... Now, this is the most popular story of all of them for sure, and everybody will, I'm sure, say in the comments that this is their favourite story. This is Candy in Big Bear, and we've got Jack MacGyver in Buffalo, and that's Squirrel that sort of goes with Buffalo. And then we've got John Burton and Wong Lee in Convoy, flying truck. Got Tom Selleck in Deep Diver. Tom Rockford in The Phoenix. Mandy and Professor Von Braun in Deloreion. There's a Cyclone, and now I can't remember the name. Max Starr's friend in the cavalry regiment that they were in the Atlantican War. And then we've got the mysterious Interceptor. Okay, that was a terrible... I'm sure everybody should be putting in the comments what the names I missed out were. Because I'm actually disappointed myself that I couldn't remember some of them. So as you can imagine, there's thousands of miniatures names for me to remember, and I don't always get it right, especially when I haven't looked at the faction for a little while. I haven't played for a little while. So, okay, so looking over the stat cards here. Now I'm going to show you guys the Turbo Plus stat cards, which is essentially identical to the current stat cards, of course, in stats, but I've just updated the design with some better artwork. So that's really the only difference. Everything else is pretty much identical stats. So let's have a look. Hopefully this reflection is not going to be too bad on these. So, right. So Armadillo here. Now this means that this little symbol here is artillery, means that it can sort of put down its feet and use itself as like a long-range artillery, and which means that everything sort of counts at short range, which is actually really, really handy. Range attack 3 is pretty good. Now in the faction guide, even though this has close attack 1, the faction guide actually ensures that all vehicles are close attack 0. So there's really no close attacks on here. As a part of, as I said, Special Branch was top tier, and it was a part of the balancing process to bring them down to close attack 0 for vehicles. Just made sense. They're still really powerful force. So obviously 3 energy on this one. So yeah, Armadillo is probably going to see battle in most forces. Buffalo here. Oops, I can't get that to focus. Why is that not focusing? Buffalo here, once again, 4 ranged attack. I mean, 7 hit points. It's gonna, and nuclear shells, which is like really devastating to your opponent. I think I spoke on the Overlord's faction video that nuclear shells essentially mean that all activations, once you hit with nuclear shells, all activations that turn cost 1 extra energy, which is like can be devastating to any sort of battle plan. Once activates pretty quickly as well on an SR4. In fact, all the special branch are really fast at activating in the turn. So Phoenix, ground to air missile, which is really devastating. Another fantastic shooter for special branch. Only 8 points as well, which is really good. Now, most of these will have advanced deployment, which means they deploy further up the table than, or they can deploy further up the table than most other forces. So we got Deloreion, and Deloreion has air support, but also teleport, so it can pretty much go anywhere on the table, which is pretty nasty. And if he gets a great roll for Inventor, it can essentially get a magnetic disruption gun, which means you roll all critical dice rather than purple dice when making your ranged attacks at close range, which is like pretty brutal. Airblade, I actually like Airblade. The only thing is, like 8 points and stuff like that, it actually can choose to do a ram attack or use its air support. It can't do both. And so So yeah, I don't know what people choose. I probably would choose your air support or none maybe, because it actually already has jetpack. Now jetpack is on a lot of the special branch flyers. Jetpack is essentially a third activation, which is really, really, really powerful. So you can do pop out attacks. You can pop out for a move, shoot, and then pop back behind terrain, which is really annoying for your opponent. Now Convoy, possibly one of the strongest models in the game of Bot War. Only 16 points, 3 energy, 4 ranged attack. I mean, 7 hit points. And it has jetpack as well. And it can transport Airblade, Nighthawk, or Freedom Eagle. So, yeah. For that sort of points, ranged attack 4 and SR1. I mean, it's activating first. It's got pop-out attacks. It's got iron skin. Yeah. It's really, really brutal. Probably a must-have in every single special branch army or special branch force taken. Bronco, 10 points, obscure. So he's actually probably the really great, has great staying power for compared to most of the other special branch forces, because that obscure is going to give him an extra shield dice against ranged attacks. So he's going to have 4 shields. But he does only have 5 hit points, which most of the special branch are usually lower on hit points. So ram attack. I think you probably wouldn't use ram attack most of the time with special branch, given that they got no close attack. Now Squirrel. Now we have a thing in Bot War that we call certain models batteries, and we take those models just to give the extra energy and potentially use them to grab objectives. They're not really there to fight a lot. Squirrel's got actually a decent ranged attack for 5 points, but pretty poor shields and poor hit points. But he's delivering 2 energy for 5 points. So you put him on and he actually has stealth super ability, which is handy to get him out of trouble if required. But really, you wouldn't use it. You would put him around an objective and use him as a battery to supply the rest of your force with power. Interceptor, big controversy around this model. It's sort of a running joke on our Facebook community. Some people say the Interceptor is the best model in the game for 8 points. I disagree, but I think everybody is against me. But yeah, it's because he's getting 4 ranged attack against bots, which is what that 4/3 is. He's got an anti-bot weapon. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. And he has resurrection, so if he is destroyed, he starts on the back of the table with 1 damage. So yeah, he is pretty, for 8 points. That is a real bargain, but I just don't think he can get everywhere that's needed in the game. Sky Cycle. Now, Sky Cycle is actually a really good model. I would take Sky Cycle in most special branch teams that I would field, only because you're getting a second ground-to-air missile with Phoenix as well, and you got jetpack, and you got obscure. So you're getting 4 shield dice against range attacks because he's so small. He's efficient, so he's getting a free activation. Yeah, this is just a bargain. I think Sky Cycle should be in nearly every list that I would see on the tournament field. Good old Candy and Big Bear. Now, I always take Candy and Big Bear just because I love the threat of heavy caliber gun, which is like just brutal. You can get up to 6, I think it's 6 ranged attack dice for 1 shot, and if you roll any doubles though, you've lost it and you just go back to your normal, but who cares? It's a 1-hit wonder, but it can just mince people if you need to. So Big Bear's pretty brutal. Low on energy, so you do need someone to help fuel it, but that's what Squirrel's for, right? Deep Diver. Technically, for me, Deep Diver's another battery. Even though it's a pretty decent 3 ranged attack, Aquatic doesn't do much because we don't play much on sort of swamp or water type boards. But yeah, 2 energy for 6 points is sort of your second battery as far as I'm concerned, but can still hold out on injectors with 5 hit points and 3 ranged attacks. So for 6 points, it's a bargain. Freedom Eagle 1. Now, I prefer Freedom Eagle 1 over Freedom Eagle 2. Just because of that, look at the bottom there, target matrix. Now, target matrix means that everything is counted at short range. And with jetpack, you can pop out, short range attack something at like the 24 inches away, which is just crazy, and then pop back in without any problem at all. So yeah, Freedom Eagle 1 I think is probably better than Freedom Eagle 2, but I guess it depends what you want to do with it. But I usually take Freedom Eagle 1 in my forces. And here we go, here is Freedom Eagle 2. Now Freedom Eagle 2 is the same points, but doesn't have, oh, it does have target matrix. Now why wasn't I taking that before? I don't know why. Maybe I've changed the points on this. But for some reason, I liked Freedom Eagle 1 better. But now I see that, it was probably crazy because this is actually much better. Anyway, yeah, I think that's a typo on this card actually, because I think this was supposed to be more points. But anyway, obviously I made a mistake there on camera, but I'm not going to edit it and people can just laugh at me in the comments. Cyclone. Now, I think a lot of people take Cyclone because it is actually quite good. Once again, anti-bot weapon there, gives 4 ranged attack against bots, and Iron Skin as well, so re-rolling any shooting damage against it, and 6 hit points makes it pretty decent warrior size model. But I personally don't really find the points left to take Cyclone in this force. But we'll see. I have given it a couple of runs in the past, and it is a solid model. But I find I would rather take Buffalo for a similar role. And finally, we have here Nighthawk. Nighthawk is actually, once again, I prefer to take Airblade over Nighthawk, although Nighthawk actually is better stats-wise. And it has Sharpshooter as well, so he's re-rolling to shoot. But I think if you're taking Nighthawk, Freedom Eagle, and Airblade, that's probably overkill on the jetpack and the flying cars. So I think you would probably only take 2 and 100 points, perhaps. Moving on to some of the new upgrades that are in the Special Branch Faction Guide. So we've got here Luck of Heroes. And that's just essentially a reroll for 3 points. We've got here Light Spectrum. So this is sort of weird. This is a weird upgrade. It is potentially really powerful because if you do get ram attacked, and after the model has moved into base phase contact, you can roll a dice and get out of it and disengage, which is like pretty huge. That is huge. I mean, obviously you might fail, but the potential for getting out of it, getting out of a close attack is really good because you will get beaten up in a close attack. What have we got? Time Continuum. I think this is a must-have on Deloreion, and to be fair, it was created for Deloreion because it moves the strategy rating to 1, which is really handy for certain abilities that you could roll for Inventor. So definitely something, if you're going to take Deloreion, then you should be taking Time Continuum. And why wouldn't you? Like, fits right in thematically. Mr. Fix-It, automatically repair 1 hit point once per game. Essentially, it's just an extra. It's a extra hit point, isn't it? It's like human snack for overlords, essentially. Crusader helmet, and actually this gives the gas gun special rule, and the gas gun special rule is actually really nasty because it just permanently reduces your shields down. which is like pretty brutal. Now you would obviously put that on a low SR model. You might want to put that on something like, just trying to think, Convoy perhaps. It does boost Convoy up to 21 points, but Convoy with gas gun is like brutal. Convoy's SR1. So there you have it. Special Branch has been toned down slightly from its sort of more liberal original outing, just with the guide, etc., etc. But it's still a top tier force, definitely a top tier force, and definitely worth taking. And you also have that added narrative of, you know, the brave humans taking on the deadly bots and giving them a damn good run for their money. But definitely one of my favorite forces, Max Starr's Special Branch. Check them out, and I hope you enjoyed this video. See ya.